My son said he couldn't afford Christmas this year. His exact words were, "Mom, we're just stretched too thin right now. Between the kids and Megan's surgery bills, we can't do gifts or dinners. Let's keep it quiet this year." I nodded, on the phone, trying to hide my disappointment. Of course I told him. "Don't worry about it. I'll just stay in." He thanked me like I'd done him a favor. Like it wasn't going to sting sitting alone in my apartment while the rest of the world clinked glasses and exchanged gifts. I believed him. I really did. Thomas had always struggled to keep his head above water. He wasn't irresponsible, just unlucky, or at least that's what I used to tell myself. Layoffs, bad investments, unexpected bills. He always had a reason. And I had always been there. From the down payment on their house to the new SUV when Megan got pregnant the second time, I wrote the checks and kept quiet. That's what mothers do, right? Hold on a moment before we move forward. Let us know where in the world you're watching from. And if you're loving these stories, don't forget to hit subscribe. Tomorrow's episode is going to be absolutely mind-blowing still. It didn't feel right. Not the way he said it, not this year. His voice lacked guilt. It was almost casual. Can't do Christmas, like canceling a dentist appointment. I went grocery shopping 2 days later. The store was packed, carts overflowing with hams and cranberry sauce, and people bumping into each other like it was the end of the world. I was picking up a few things. Just for me, frozen mac and cheese, a single apple pie slice in a plastic container, 1 bottle of red wine. I didn't need much. At checkout, I ended up behind a woman with full bags. She was chatting loudly on the phone and digging in her purse while the cashier scanned. She dropped her receipt without noticing. I picked it up to hand it to her, but she was already gone. That's when I saw it. The name at the top, Megan L. Tinsley, my daughter-in-law. The total was over $500. Bottles of Dom Perignon, filet mignon, lobster tails, a dozen imported cheeses. The time stamp was from the night before. I stared at the slip, in my hand like it was something in a different language. My heart dropped slowly, like an elevator descending into a basement. I stood there frozen as the cashier waved me forward. I paid for my things and walked to the car in a daze. Megan had been here. She had bought luxury food, expensive wine. There was nothing on that receipt that said tight budget or just getting by. They hadn't canceled Christmas. They'd canceled me. To drive home felt longer than usual. I pulled into my driveway, turned off the engine, and sat in silence for several minutes. Then I opened my purse and laid the receipt on the table like it was a piece of evidence in a trial. My hands were shaking. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay on my back and stared at the ceiling. For the first time in years, I let myself admit it. This wasn't about money. It never had been. It was about convenience, about appearances, about them not wanting me there. And I had let them get away with it. I started thinking back to all the things I had done for them. The second mortgage I took out after Megan's, car accident to help with her bills, the countless checks, the endless babysitting, the grocery deliveries. It's the time I paid the $8,700 property tax when Thomas forgot and Megan blamed the bank. They had a home because I made sure they never lost it. And now, I wasn't even worth a $20 gift or a chair at their table. The next morning, I texted Thomas, "Hope you're all doing okay. Let me know if you need anything." Script. He replied within 5 minutes. "Okay, Mom. Thanks again for being so understanding. Megan sends her love." Love. That word tasted bitter. I sat at my kitchen table, opened my banking app, and stared at the monthly transfers I'd set up long ago. $1,200 every month. It's automatically sent to their joint account. It had started as a one-time favor. Then it became routine, then expected, now invisible. I didn't cancel it, not yet. Instead, I began to take inventory. I opened a box in my bedroom closet labeled house papers. I hadn't looked at it in years. Inside were deeds, loan records, a signed document from when I'd co-signed their mortgage to help them qualify. My name was still on the paperwork, I sat there for over an hour going through every document. I didn't feel angry yet. I just felt tired. Tired of not being told the truth. Tired of being used. Tired of smiling through it because I didn't want to be the difficult mom. That evening, I didn't call them. I didn't check on the kids. I didn't respond to Megan's fake happy Instagram story showing a candlelit table with wine glasses and a caption that read, "Family, food, love." I just sat in my recliner, pulled a blanket over my lap, and watched the snow pile up outside. The Christmas lights across the street blinked cheerfully. Mine stayed off dot, and for the first time in a long time, I stopped feeling guilty about that. I woke up the next day still thinking about that receipt. I couldn't get it out of my head. It wasn't just the money or the food or the fact that Megan had lied with a smile on her face. It was the realization that none of this was new. This had been happening for years. I just hadn't wanted to admit it. I made coffee, sat down at the kitchen table, and started pulling out my notebooks. I've kept a budget notebook since 1994, habit from my years as a teacher. It's one for each year, all of them in a neat stack in the pantry closet. I opened the one from the current year and flipped through the pages. December, $1,200. Thomas and Megan. November, $1,200. Thomas and Megan. October, September, August. The list went on. I had sent them a total of $14,400 in 2023 alone. I turned back a few years. 2022, $12,000. 2021, $10,800. That wasn't counting the unexpected extras. The new washer they needed when theirs broke. The emergency dental surgery Megan's cousin needed, which somehow involved me. The $1,000 for Thomas's license renewal that had to be paid that week. I always helped and never questioned it, and now I couldn't stop questioning everything. I called the bank. I didn't cancel the transfers yet. I just asked for printed statements of all automatic payments made to their account since 2019. The woman on the line didn't say much, just confirmed the request. When I hung up, I looked around my small living room and tried to remember the last time I'd bought something for myself that wasn't on sale or secondhand. A new pair of shoes, a fresh coat of paint for the walls, a vacation. It's a last reel. Trip I took was in 2006. It's Colorado with my sister before she passed. By mid-morning, I'd already received 2 messages. One from Megan, just checking in to see how you're doing. Hope you're staying warm this week. We love you. And one from Thomas. Hey, sorry we're missing Christmas this year. Next one will be better, I promise. I didn't respond. Not because I was trying to be dramatic. I just didn't know what to say without sounding bitter. And I didn't want to lie and say I was okay. Around noon, I decided to go through my emails. I searched Megan and Thomas and filtered by attachments. Hundreds of emails came up. Receipts, purchase confirmations, thank you notes for transactions I had almost forgotten about. A sofa from Crate and Barrel partially paid with my card. A 5-night hotel booking at a resort in Arizona. A $600 baby stroller that Megan had to have after giving birth to their second child. I stared at the screen for a long time, slowly realizing I'd become more than just a mother. To them, I had become the silent investor in their lifestyle. And the worst part, they never treated me like I belonged in it. I started remembering the moments that didn't seem important at the time. Like when Megan told me to wear something neutral to Emma's preschool recital because the photos were going to be light-themed. Or when Thomas told me to skip Thanksgiving 2 years ago because it was going to be more of a friends thing this year. I told myself they were being thoughtful. Now, I wasn't so sure. 3 days before Christmas, I got a Christmas card in the mail from them. It was one of those glossy printed ones with professional photos. Thomas, Megan, and the kids on a beach. Matching outfits, smiling. The back of the card had a long note thanking all our loved ones for supporting our journey this year. My name wasn't mentioned. The envelope had no handwritten note, not even a scribble, just a printed label with my name. stuck onto the front like I was a distant relative they felt obligated to include. That night, I placed the card on the counter next to the receipt. The beach smiles beside the luxury groceries. It painted a clear picture. I didn't sleep again. I kept thinking about what I'd allowed, the things I'd ignored to avoid conflict. I remembered the Christmas 5 years ago when I bought all the gifts for the kids because Thomas said money was tight, then watched as Megan posted pictures of a brand new bracelet he'd gifted her. Surprised by my sweet husband with this beauty today. #grateful, she wrote. I had seen the bracelet tag in my account activity that same week, charged to the card I let Thomas use only for gas. I hadn't said a word back then. I didn't. Want to start a fight during the holidays? But now there was no holiday to protect. They'd left me out entirely. On purpose, the next morning I drove to the post office and mailed a small package to their house. No return address. Inside was the receipt from the grocery store, folded neatly along with a single sticky note that said, "Now I understand." I didn't sign it, okay? That same afternoon, I got a call. Thomas? I didn't pick up. Then Megan. Then Megan again. Then a long text, "Mom, we need to talk. I don't know what you're upset about, but we're worried." I turned off the phone and placed it in a drawer. The next day, I drove downtown to meet with a lawyer I had used once before when helping a friend draft a will. He remembered me. We sat in his small office and I explained the situation. The house, the co-signed loan, the transfers. The silence. He asked a few questions and then leaned back in his chair. "You've been generous. That's not a crime. But if you want to protect yourself now, we can set things up differently." We began the process of removing my name from anything connected to their joint financials. I had never asked to be on their accounts, but Megan had insisted when Emma was born, saying it's just good to have someone else on there in case of emergencies. It had never been about emergencies. It had been about access. We also started preparing the paperwork to reclaim full rights to the vacation house I had bought in cash 5 years earlier and gifted to them to use during the summers. I had never transferred the deed fully. I still held the title. That was going to change now. It wasn't revenge. I didn't want to hurt them. I just wanted to stop being used. I returned home, made dinner, and watched the snow fall. My living room was quiet and the house smelled like roasted chicken. There were no decorations this year. No music, no grandkids running around, but it was mine. All mine, and for the first time in a long time. I didn't feel like I had to earn a seat at anyone else's table. On December 24th, I woke up early. I hadn't planned anything special. I wasn't decorating. I wasn't cooking a big meal. Still, I found myself sitting in the kitchen, staring at the empty chair across from me, and wondering when everything had changed. It didn't happen all at once. There wasn't one big moment. Just a slow drift. 1 year without a thank you, another with an excuse. Then fewer invitations. Then none at all. I boiled eggs for breakfast, toasted bread, sat down and ate alone while the neighbors' kids played outside in the snow. It used to be that Emma and Jacob would come over on Christmas Eve morning. Megan always said it gave them time to prep. I didn't mind. I liked having them here. I made waffles, read them stories. That hadn't happened in 2 years now. I hadn't seen them since October when Megan asked me not to bring old toys to their house anymore. "We're trying to keep things more organized," she had said by noon. Thomas still hadn't called, not even a message. I wasn't surprised. I finished reading the legal drafts from my lawyer. Everything was in motion. The property title for the vacation house was being pulled from their name. Not revoked, just corrected. It had always been mine. I had paid for it, maintained it, paid the taxes every year. I just never updated the documents when Megan said, "Don't worry about all that, just enjoy the place," and the bank transfer. That was next. I sat down at my computer and logged into my online banking account. I clicked on the automatic payment and hit cancel. The screen asked, "Are you sure?" I didn't hesitate. I clicked yes. Then I checked the balance of their account. It had my name on it too, and I still had access. I wasn't touching the money. I wasn't moving a cent. I just looked at it. Over $4,000 in spending during the last 2 weeks alone. Restaurants, hotel spas, designer store purchases. A $700 bill from a catering company. Megan had said they couldn't afford Christmas. I closed the laptop. At 3:10 p.m., the doorbell rang. I opened the door, and there stood Thomas, alone, snow on his jacket, gloves in his hand. He didn't smile. "Ken?" "I come in." I stepped aside. He sat at the kitchen table, looking around like he didn't recognize the house anymore. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he never really paid attention. He used to sit at that table with peanut butter on his face when he was 5. Now he sat stiff, arms crossed. "We got your package," he said. "I know Megan was upset, she thinks." "You're angry? I'm not angry," I said. "I'm done." He looked confused. Done with what? I didn't answer right away. Poured myself some tea and sat down across from him. "Thomas, do you know how long I've been helping?" He shrugged a while. 17 years, I said. "Since the first time you said you needed a little help with rent. It's before Emma was born. Since before you were married. And I never once asked for anything back. Not once." He didn't deny it. "I co-signed your mortgage. I paid your bills when Megan was out of work. I gave you money when you said your business was struggling. And this year, when you said you couldn't afford Christmas, I believed you. Until I saw the receipt. Until I saw what you actually spent your money on." His expression shifted. Just slightly. "You think I don't know what's going on?" I continued. "That you and Megan have been using my support to free up your income so you can live the way you want. Mom, that's not fair." "It's accurate." He leaned back, exhaling. "We've been going through a lot. We all go through a lot, Thomas. But not everyone lies about it." A long silence settled between us. "I'm not giving you any more money," I said flatly. "I've canceled the transfers. I've removed my name from the house. I've updated my will. You're not entitled to anything from me anymore?" His jaw tightened. "So that's it? You're cutting me off? It's just like that?" "No, you already cut me off." He just did it with a smile. He didn't respond. "You canceled Christmas with me. You lied to me. And you didn't even have the decency to tell me the truth afterward. You let me find out from a receipt. A receipt, Thomas." His eyes dropped to the table. I got up and walked to the pantry. I pulled out a small brown box. I had packed it that morning. Inside were some of the greeting cards I had received from them over the years, most unsigned, most with printed messages. The photo cards where I wasn't included. A birthday card with a pre-typed message that just said warmest. Wishes, no names. I placed the box in front of him. "What's this?" he asked. "Everything I have left from you." He opened the box, looked through the contents, then closed it. "You don't have to do this, Mom." "But I am," I said. He stood up slowly. "So what do you want me to tell the kids?" "That's up to you." He shook his head, almost like he was trying to believe I wasn't serious. "You always say family is what matters." "It does," I said. "But I finally realized I'm not included in yours." He stared at me for a long time. Then he left. He didn't hug me. Didn't apologize. I closed the door. I didn't cry that night. I made myself dinner. Roasted chicken, mashed potatoes, cranberry sauce. I didn't cook for anyone else. I didn't expect anyone to show up. I just wanted to eat something warm, something comforting. I lit a single candle, not for tradition, but because I wanted. 2. I sat down at the table and looked around the quiet kitchen. This wasn't how I pictured growing old. I thought I'd be surrounded by grandchildren, by laughter. I thought Thomas would bring his family here, just like we used to go to my parents' house. I thought I'd be loved back the way I gave love. But sometimes what you think you've built isn't really what's there. And when you finally see the truth, you have to decide what you're going to do about it. I chose to stop pretending. I chose peace the next morning. I woke up to 8 missed calls, 5 from Thomas, 3 from Megan. It was 7:12 a.m. on Christmas morning. I didn't answer. Sat in bed, looked at the call log, and turned the phone face down on the nightstand. For years, I would have answered right away, no matter the hour. I would have been worried maybe the kids were sick. Maybe something happened, but I wasn't worried this time. I knew what this was. It wasn't concern. It wasn't love. It was panic. We were finally realizing the money wasn't coming. I got up, made coffee, and sat by the window. The street was quiet. Most families were still asleep or opening gifts in their pajamas. I could see the neighbor's front porch decorated with garlands and a red bow. Their grandkids had arrived the night before, 3 little ones running around in matching pajamas, giggling in the snow. I watched them for a minute, then turned away. I had decided the night before that I was going to let go. Not with a speech, not with drama, just quietly. I had given enough. Now it was time to stop. At 8:03 a.m., my phone buzzed again. A message. From Megan. Double quotes Linda, "This is getting out of hand. We need to talk. You're hurting the family. The kids are confused. They think you're mad at them. I'm trying to keep things calm, but you're making it very hard. Please don't let money ruin everything." I read it twice. Then again, I sat back in my chair, rereading the phrase, "You're hurting the family." I didn't respond. I just scrolled back to past messages from months ago. Most of them were short. "Can you send this? Could you pay this bill? Need help this week?" Nothing about my health. Nothing about how I was doing. Just needs, requests, and occasional thank yous that felt more automatic than genuine. At 8:45, Thomas finally sent his own message. "Mom, we shouldn't be fighting during Christmas. I know you're upset, but this isn't the way. Can we please talk?" Megan's really stressed. I made another cup of coffee and didn't write. By 10 a.m., I was in my living room going through the last of my documents. I had told my lawyer I'd review everything before signing. So the papers were ready, the trust that removed them as beneficiaries, the deed to the house secured solely under my name, and a letter to the bank instructing permanent closure of the joint access. I read through every line carefully. It wasn't revenge. It was protection. At 10:27, the doorbell rang. I stood still for a moment, staring at the door. Then it rang again. When I opened it, Thomas stood there again. This time he looked tired. He hadn't shaved. He had a coat over his pajamas, and his hands were shoved into his pockets. He didn't look angry. He looked lost. "Can I come in?" he asked. I didn't answer. I just stepped aside and let him. He stood in the entryway like he didn't know where to go. "I just want to explain, okay?" I said, crossing my arms. "I know things haven't been fair. I know we've taken advantage." He hesitated. "But it's not like we meant to." "You meant to have me pay your bills," I said flatly. "No, it's just, we got used to it, okay? We got comfortable." "I thought you didn't mind." I stared at him. "You thought I didn't mind paying for your life while being pushed out of it?" He looked down. "Megan says you're cutting ties." "I'm ending the financial part," I replied. "The rest, that depends on what you do with it." He ran a hand through his hair. I didn't realize how far it had gone until I saw the bank. "I didn't speak," he added. "I didn't know we'd spent that much. Megan handles most of the day-to-day stuff. I just assumed everything was fine." "You assumed wrong," I said. "Honey, you didn't ask." He sat down on the couch without being invited. "I don't know how to fix this." I stood for a moment, then sat in the chair across from him. "You start by understanding something very simple. You don't fix this by asking me to go back to how things were." "I'm not asking that," he said quickly. "You sure?" He didn't answer. "I raised you to be responsible. I taught you to pay your debts, to own your decisions, to be accountable. But somewhere along the way, you stopped seeing me as someone you respect. You started seeing me as a safety net." "That's not true," he said quietly. "Isn't it?" He shook his head slowly. "I never wanted to take you for granted. But you did." Another pause. "I'm sorry, Mom." That was the first time I'd heard it. It didn't come with a request, which made it feel different. I nodded, but didn't say anything right away. You need to live your life. I finally said, you have 2 children. You have a wife. You have a job. If you want to be respected, then act like it. Don't expect me to fix what you're afraid to face. He nodded slowly. You're right. The room fell into silence. Again. Then, as he stood to leave, he looked at me and asked, do you want to see the kids this week? I paused. I want to see them, I said, but not as the woman who pays for everything. Not as the background person in their lives. I want to be their grandmother. You are, he said. Then make sure Megan understands that too. He didn't argue. He just nodded again. After he left, I sat on the couch for a long time. I wasn't sure what I felt. Not anger, not relief. Maybe just tired. But also steady. I had set a line and I hadn't stepped back from it. Around 5:30 p.m., my phone buzzed. A photo, Emma and Jacob holding up signs that said, Merry Christmas, Grandma. A little crooked, a little messy, probably done last minute, but it wasn't a receipt. I didn't reply. Not yet. I closed my eyes and let the silence settle. No drama, no yelling, no begging. Just quiet. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like the outsider in my own life. 2 days after Christmas, I received an envelope in the mail. No return address. The handwriting on it was familiar too neat to be Thomas's. Definitely Megan's. I opened it slowly, unsure of what I'd find. Inside was a letter, 1 page, front and back, written by Megan. The first few lines were all about confusion. She said she didn't understand where all this anger came from, that she never meant to hurt me, that she was doing her best to manage the household and keep everyone sane. She mentioned the receipt, called it a misunderstanding, said the luxury dinner was a gift from a friend, and that I jumped to conclusions. I put the letter down halfway through. It was the same pattern. Deflect, deny, dismiss. She didn't apologize, didn't acknowledge the years of support, or how many times I bailed them out. She didn't even reference the vacation home. Just vague sentences about family falling apart and how Emma and Jacob need stability right now. Later that afternoon, Thomas called again. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something told me to answer. Hey, he said. Hi, did you get the letter? Yes. Silence. I didn't know she was sending that, he added. She wanted to explain her side. She didn't explain anything, I said. She just tried to smooth it over. I know, he said. That's how she handles things. Well, it's not how I handle them. Another pause. I want to come by, he said. With the kids. Just us. No, Megan. When tomorrow, if that's okay. I told him I spent the rest of the day cleaning the living room, not for them, but for myself. I hadn't hosted anyone in weeks, maybe months. I put clean pillowcases on the couch, washed the throw blanket, dusted the windowsills. I wasn't nervous. I just wanted it to feel like a place where they could sit and be comfortable. The next morning, it arrived around 10 a.m. Emma came in first, her winter coat zipped up to her chin, cheeks flushed from the cold. Jacob followed, dragging a stuffed animal behind him. Thomas brought a tray of muffins and a bag of oranges. I didn't say anything at first. I just smiled and motioned for them to come in. Emma ran up to me and gave me a quick hug. Grandma, we made cards, she said, pulling 2 folded pieces of paper from her coat pocket. Jacob's card had a crooked heart drawn in red crayon and the words, I love Grandma, written in uneven letters. Emma's had a drawing of all 4 of us, her, Jacob, Thomas, and me standing in front of a house with a tree and a dog. Even though I didn't have a dog, I thanked them both and set the cards on the mantel. Thomas stayed quiet at first. He let the kids play on the carpet and then helped me in the kitchen. We didn't say much while making tea. Passed things back and forth. Once the kids were settled, he sat at the kitchen table and finally spoke. I've been thinking a lot, he said, about what you said, about everything, really. Didn't interrupt. I realized I haven't protected you. Not from Megan, not from myself. I've used you without even noticing how much it cost you. It's not just the money, I said. It's the way I was treated. The way you both made me feel invisible, unwanted, like I was just a resource. I know, he said. And I hate that I let it get to that point. I nodded. I talked to Megan, he continued. She doesn't get it. I don't know if she ever will. But I told her we're doing things differently from now on. I raised an eyebrow. What does that mean? It means I'm handling our finances from now on. Means I'm going to set boundaries with her, with myself. I've already started. I closed the shared access to your account. Removed your name from anything on our end. I already removed myself from most of it, I said. I know, he replied, but I wanted to make sure I finished it. I sat back in my chair watching him closely. He looked older than usual. Not in a tired way, just more aware. Maybe more grounded. I'm not asking you to forgive everything overnight, he said. I just want a chance to rebuild something. With you and the kids. I didn't answer right away. I looked over to the living room where Emma and Jacob were stacking plastic cups, giggling. Jacob dropped his stack and started over without a fuss. Emma patted his back and helped him line them up again. I don't want gifts, I said finally. I don't want gestures. Want honesty. Want to know that I'm not just useful when you're desperate. You're not, he said. You never were. I just didn't see it, but I do now. I'll believe that when I see it, I said. Over time, not in one visit. Fair enough, he replied. We ate lunch together. Sandwiches and fruit. Kayma asked if I'd come to her next recital. Jacob wanted to show me his new robot toy, which made annoying beeping sounds, but I sat and listened to all of them. Anyway, around 1 p.m., Thomas said they should get going. The kids hugged me. Emma whispered, I miss you, and Jacob asked if I had any cookies. I gave him a small bag for the road. Thomas walked out last. Before he left, he turned and said, thank you for not slamming the door. I didn't respond with warmth. I didn't smile. I just said, we'll see. After they left, I sat on the couch and looked at the drawings again. I wasn't sure if Thomas would follow through. I wasn't sure if Megan would make things worse. But for once, I wasn't waiting for their approval. I wasn't waiting for anything. I was watching now, okay? And this time, they'd have to earn their place. The day before New Year's Eve, I woke up with a list in my mind. Not a resolution list, not goals or promises. Just names, accounts, documents. Things that still had to be finalized. I made breakfast black coffee. Eggs and toast, sat at the table with my notepad. The vacation house paperwork was already signed and filed. The automatic bank transfers were canceled, but there was one last step left. The formal closure of the shared investment account I had opened 10 years ago under both our names, mostly, to give Thomas a safety net for the kids' college fund. That account had grown quietly over the years. I let it sit and mature while continuing to deposit a small amount each month. I used to tell myself it was for the grandkids. But lately, I realized what I had really been doing was leaving the door open for Thomas, for Megan. A way for them to always have a fallback, just in case. And I finally understood they had never asked for it out of need. They expected it. Like a tap that always worked. I stared at the statement for a while before dialing the number of the financial advisor I'd worked with when I was still teaching. Linda, he said, answering quickly. Happy holidays. Skip the small talk. I want to close the joint account. Let's transfer everything back into my name. He paused. Are you sure? That'll trigger a notice to the other party? I'm sure, I said. Make it effective at midnight, December 31st. He didn't argue. He just said, I'll send you the confirmation by email. After that, there wasn't much else to do. I went for a walk around the neighborhood. The air was cold, but not unbearable. A few homes still had Christmas lights blinking lazily. Some already had ladders out, decorations coming down. I passed a family carrying empty boxes into their garage, kids bundled up, laughing. I kept walking. When I got home, there was a voicemail from Thomas. His voice was steady, but uncertain. Hey, just wanted to say thanks again for letting us come over. Emma hasn't stopped talking about your cookies. I know things aren't fixed, but I hope we're on the right track. I deleted the message. Not out of anger, just because I didn't want it sitting there that evening. I got a message from Megan, first one since the letter. I know things are different now. I'm trying to understand it, even if I don't agree with everything. I hope we can find some kind of balance. It's for the kids. I read it twice, then locked my phone and left it on the kitchen counter. The rest of the night was quiet. I didn't turn on the TV. I didn't open a bottle of anything. Kate, I just made dinner soup and a piece of buttered bread and ate it. Slowly, I watched the clock move toward midnight like it was just any other hour. And when it hit 12 a.m., I walked into my home office, opened my email, and saw the subject line, waiting. Account ownership, updated confirmation. I clicked it open. It was done. They didn't know it yet, but everything had changed. This wasn't about punishing them, was about finally cutting off the quiet current that had carried them forward at my expense. I didn't yell. I didn't send a message. Didn't announce it. I just took back the life I funded. The next day, Thomas called. I didn't answer. Then a text. Mom, I think something happened with the account. I tried to check the balance this morning and it said access restricted. Can you call me? I didn't reply. Then another. Megan's freaking out. She said she saw a notification. Did you do something with the funds? Still no reply. I spent the day organizing drawers, cleaning the guest room, taking down the holiday cards taped to the pantry door. I left the drawings from Emma and Jacob. Where they were, though. I wasn't shutting the door on them later that evening. The doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole. Megan, I didn't open the door. I waited. She knocked once, then twice. Then a third time. I stood silently behind the door. Eventually, she left. I opened the door only after I heard her car pull away. There was no note. No flowers. Just silence. That was fine. 3 days passed before Thomas sent another message. I guess this is it. I didn't reply. A week later, I received a card in the mail. No handwriting, no photos. Just a printed card that said, wishing you peace. In the new year. Signed Thomas, Megan, Emma, Jacob. I placed it in the same box as all the others. But this time, I didn't feel like I needed anything from them. Not an apology. Not clarity. Not an explanation. I had made my line clear. If they crossed it again, they'd do it without access, without money, without control. And from now on, everything they built would have to be on their own dime.